Hello, I'm Alex Fullick, preparing for the unexpected. I'm here with my co-host, James Green, and we are going to be talking with Andrew Lawton today from Reskube. Welcome, Andrew.
Hi there. Good to see you.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, well, I've been in the business continuity and resilience industry for way too long. Back in the mid 90s, I joined a company that ended up being SunGard in the UK. SunGard's probably a well-known name.
Mhm.
And yes, been started off in disaster recovery, and of course that changed over time. In fact, I did start with LDRPS. I don't remember
Oh, yeah.
LDRPS
Yeah.
Yeah.
way back then, and then had many roles over time. Ended up running HP's business continuity business in the UK, and ran IBM security and privacy practice for a while across the UK, Ireland, South Africa, and then had a bit of a sabbatical, I suppose, in cybersecurity for about 10 years, and then came back to business continuity and formed a company called Fortress.
You can never escape business continuity.
No, that's right.
That's correct. Once you're in, you're always in. So,
Yeah.
Andrew, I was curious, as the founder of Reskube, tell us why you founded your company.
Yeah, well, it funnily enough came from that company Fortress, which was, well, in fact, is a work area recovery company. So providing full back office for financial services and law firms in the City of London. And so that is, desk chairs, PCs, screens, telephone systems, etc., sitting empty, ready and waiting for people to have disasters. And that was going great. We were winning awards and winning customers right up until March 2020, when, of course, everyone disappeared off home. And many of the customers at that point came to the conclusion that they didn't really need work area recovery anymore, and certainly not the syndicated shared version of work area recovery. And of course, we had to think very quickly, as did our competitors, about how we maintained relevance and how we continued to deliver value. And one of the things that always struck me about when we were talking about fallback office was people were always asking about the resilience of our recovery centre, because they didn't want to have a disaster in their main office, bring all their critical people across, and then have another disaster in the recovery centre. And it's actually pretty straightforward to put resilience into a recovery center. You have UPS and generator, dual feed power and dual feed comms. It's an expensive business, but it's relatively straightforward. But all of those people that were doing the critical work in the recovery center are now doing that critical work in their homes, many of them. And there is still that need for resilience. And that's very different from fallback. So resilience and fallback, different things. And building resilience into somebody's home, particularly if you have hundreds or thousands of employees that you need to do this for, is actually where the complexity lies, because you can't just send out UPSs and 4G routers and a load of cables. Lots of those staff, they may be critical, but they're not very technical. And the other thing is that those devices are often not certified for home use. They are certified for the office or maybe data centers, and therefore you'd be introducing a device into some of your staff members' home that isn't supposed to be there. And of course, if it causes problems, of course, that's going to cause you problems. So the other key issue is that once you've sent those devices out, you can't actually see them. They've gone. So your IT team have got no control, no level of support. They can't help those remote users if they've got technical problems. And so what we've done basically with Reskube is build resilient, in fact, enterprise infrastructure into a very small box that sits under somebody's desk and provides them with always on power and always on comms. And it's very, very simple. So simple for the IT teams to send out. It's very simple for the user to plug under their desk. And it importantly allows the IT team to remotely log in and support them. So that if there are any problems, the IT team can configure things and help.
I'm just curious, based on some of the things that you mentioned, Was the development of Reskube based on a single incident that you experienced, or multiple incidents that you were seeing the same issue come up?
Well, it was prompted really by as I say, what we've seen from the industry, but also where I am in Kent in the UK, we do have power outages, and actually there were a couple of power outages through that year that affected me while I was working from home. Now, my business, this is an important call for me, and so I'll have important calls with customers. I'll have other important calls, but of course there are many people doing important business. And what we found is that actually it's about 5 to 10% of staff fall into the category where they need resilience. They need, if they're on and supposed to be on, then they have to be on. Whether that's a trader, it could be a doctor, it could be a lawyer. These are high value individuals for their companies, and they must be online. And that's really where it came from.
Okay. James, do you want to ask our next question?
Yeah, I want to go off track a little bit. Andrew, I love how you mentioned the pandemic negatively affected your business, and then you looked at how do we pivot? Where do we pivot? Is there an opportunity to thrive? And you mentioned earlier, like, the difference between resilience and backup and recovery. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that. What does resilience, that word, what does that term resilience mean to you?
Well, it simply means that you can continue uninterrupted through adversity, whatever that is, through that impact of crisis. And as you point out, it is very different to fallback. Resilience means you're carrying on regardless, as it were, as opposed to having a fallback, maybe even a generator, where you've got that gap in time, or you've got some people talk to us about how does this differ from connecting to my phone. I can tether to my mobile phone. Well, you can do, but if you're a trader just about to press go on a couple of £1 million worth of trades, the last thing you need to be doing is then fumbling around with your mobile phone. And having done that many a time, I know that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So if you're the sort of person that needs to be online, mucking around with your mobile phone is not what you want to be doing. What you want to happen is for something to be completely automated in the background, and all of that technical gubbins work. And that's, I'm saying it from a user perspective, where you're a non-technical user. You don't want to get involved in how infrastructure works, how your computer works, how the internet works. You're just doing a job that needs those resources. And that's where resilience comes in. Means that those that computing power, that internet, that power is always on and available to you when you need it.
Yeah, that's a really important point that you mentioned about non-technical. We've seen a lot of organizations, they temporarily went work from home during COVID. That became permanent work from home. And one of the steps they missed is the help desk. The IT help desk isn't at home. How do you help those non-technical users? So I love that your organization puts an emphasis on, how do we supply UPS power and backup to a non-technical person in their home.
And actually, one of the almost accidental benefits of Reskube and the remote management dashboard that it provides is that for those people that are supporting those non-technical users, particularly if they're high value, when they go down, all hell breaks loose. We've got to get these people back online, and often it's very difficult then to talk them through a technical script. What Reskube enables you to do really is have that visibility into the remote infrastructure, and you can get a really good understanding of what's going on. So you've got better visibility, faster diagnosis, and then faster remediation of those problems. So there's an accidental benefit, and it's actually one of the things that the customers' IT teams particularly really appreciate.
Speaking as a non-IT person, is it the Reskube box? Is it simply just arrives at my house and it's kind of a plug and play?
It's pretty much plug and play. There's a couple of things to do really. I mean, you just need to plug it obviously into your home power. Once it's powered on, actually your IT team will be able to see it, and they will be able to configure it for you if you're completely non-technical. Now, if you do have some level of technical ability, you can just log into it and then set up your Wi-Fi, very much like you would do, one of your home appliances. Your TV these days, you connect it to your Wi-Fi. So in exactly the same way you do that. So what it does is it takes in your home broadband and then represents that to you as Reskube Wi-Fi. Then you connect your critical devices then to the Reskube Wi-Fi. And of course, if your home broadband disappears, it will then flip across to the 4G network. It does it within a second. And of course, if we're on a Zoom call or a Teams call as we are here, you literally wouldn't even notice. And of course, that all happens in the background, as I say.
Andrew, talk to us a little bit about, you mentioned the dashboard that IT has access to. I think that's really important with organizations working with deployed workforces. It's one thing to send equipment to someone's home, but you really need to have that insight into what's happening. So talk to us a little bit about that dashboard.
Yeah, the dashboard, as I say, will enable your IT teams to connect and see what's going on at the other end in the router element of your Reskube. So it will understand, what devices are connected to it, what mobile network, data network it's connected to. What you can do as an organization as well is, control what devices connect to Reskube. So if you don't want your kids and connecting to connect for see their Disney or Netflix, then you can limit the devices that are attached to it. And you can report on it. Now, for those in regulated industries where they need to prove that their high value individuals do have resilience, or in fact, just really for their board, you can run reports, of course, to say, look, these individuals have got Reskube, they're all online, they're all working, and you can, of course, remotely test it as well. So that's where that visibility comes in. You can actually connect to it, and you can actually connect through Reskube. So if, for example, it was set up in a gas station and you had a number of switches there, you had a back-end server, you had an EPOS system, and you had a problem with one or other of those, you can actually go through Reskube and connect into the devices that are attached at the other end and log into them and work on them. So that's a huge benefit, obviously, to the remote IT teams, rather than sending somebody out to that remote site. And it just gives you that level of flexibility. It's like being there.
I was going to ask about security on that. How secure is everything? Because that's a big concern these days, and I'm assuming Reskube obviously takes that into account.
Yeah, of course, and it really is a key element of what we do and how the system is set up. Of course, everything's encrypted. The communication between the Reskubes, and we have an AWS instance, and that's encrypted. The connection between the dashboard and the AWS instance is also encrypted. And of course, any devices that we would want to connect to, if they're enterprise devices, you would have to allow access to that remote device. It's not as though we can just connect to anything that's attached to Reskube. You have to have the right privileges. So it's not something that we're doing that you couldn't do, I guess, in other ways. And what we were going to do was actually add a layer of security to Reskube. But what we found was most of our enterprise customers have already got endpoint security, sort of locking down that endpoint, that laptop or PC that's working at home. And of course, you'll use VPNs, etc. And those endpoints are protected as separate entities. And so that's mainly where the security comes in.
And I understand congratulations are in order.
Oh, for our award?
For last year, Reskube won Most Innovative Product of the Year at the 2022 BCI Global Awards. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. We actually, funnily enough, won another one for the same thing at the CIR Awards just a couple of months later. And it's great. Both of those are clear validation from the industry that that this is actually a device and a solution that is valued and obviously has, it is innovative. But through the process of obviously applying for the award, we had our customers spoken to by the adjudicators, and our technology was looked at, and it was great to have all of that validated as being a sort of worthwhile and innovative solution.
Well, congratulations to you and the team for that. Well done.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks.
James, any final question you want to ask Andrew?
Just Andrew, if people want to learn more about Reskube or connect with you, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you and Reskube?
Well, they can either obviously have a look at our website, and that's www.reskube.com, or of course they can contact me, and my email is andrew.lawton, Lawton, @reskube.com, and be keen to explain more.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Andrew. And James, thanks for being the co-host once again.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, James.
Thank you. And everyone watching and listening, stay prepared, everybody.